Hello, Mummy. Greetings from New York, from my apartment in the basement of Audra MacDonald's house. I wish I could be there to share this auspicious occasion with you, but Audra doesn't let me out. She keeps me down here like Rumpelstiltskin, spinning straw into Tony Awards. But did you ever imagine that this day would come? Aren't you fancy? Here it is, the Equity Life Achievement Award. Did you ever think when you were singing Saturday Night at Pumpkin Creek, burn the candle to the wick, or hot ginger and dynamite, that's all that there is at night, down in Nagasaki where the men all chew tobacco and the women wicky wacky woo. Did you ever think this day would come? This is your reward for all those gigs over the years. This is your gold watch for successfully carrying on the family business, and how you have carried it on. Not only your brilliant performances in theatre and television and cabaret, which will live on in everybody's memory, but also for being a trailblazer, for being the first leading lady in a JCW all-Australian cast post-war, and the first variety act on Channel 9, and the first host of a Tonight Show in the world. And not only for your work, not only here, but in England and in America and South Africa, but also for being a mentor and a teacher. You opened a performing arts school back in the 60s in King's Cross, remember that, with Bernard King? And here you are all these years later still doing master classes and teaching at NIDA and WAPA and passing it on, paying it forward to a whole new generation. As you did with me. I remember doing school plays and you giving me comedy tips in our kitchen, comedy business. I remember you teaching me the time step in a hotel room in Surfers Paradise. And of course you taught me how to do a Scottish accent on Skype only last week. So the lessons continue. And not only specific lessons, but also how to behave in the theatre. That's something seems to be a dying art, and something that younger performers always comment on when they work with me. They say, you actually have taught me how to behave in a theatre. Well, that comes from you. Theatre etiquette. So thank you for that. There's a joke that, everything I learned from musical comedy, but sometimes I think that maybe you did pick up a few things from the roles that you did, like from Oliver. If you don't mind having to go without things, it's a fine life. Or from Gypsy, anyone who stays home is dead. Or even from Follies, I got through all of last year and I'm here. Good times and bum times indeed. It hasn't been without glamour, however. In fact, that was always hard for me as a schoolboy, being away from you, because I always felt I was missing something. And of course kids at school don't understand. You remember that from the nuns saying to the other kids in your class, don't talk to her, girls, her parents are in radio. But I have a few specific memories from my school days. I remember when you were doing In Melbourne Tonight, and of course you and Dad were at the studio the entire time, and so I was in boarding school for a while, and we used to do our homework in the classroom. And one night I was sitting there, it was about 7 p.m, and I looked out over the football oval, and there was our car parked across the road, and I thought, what, there's Mum's car, what's that doing there? We don't live in this area. And so I was trying to do my homework and keeping an eye on the car, because I knew you were nearby. And suddenly there you appeared, and I broke all rules of the school, and I darted out of the classroom and I ran the length of the football field. Mummy, Mummy, don't leave, don't leave. And you heard me and you went, oh, there's my baby, I remember you saying. And I got to you at the back gate of the school, and you were in a black fur coat with a turban on, looking extremely Hollywood. And you'd been doing some shopping, and I was saying, Mummy, don't leave me here. And you said, oh, darling, but I have to go to work. And to cheer me up, you said, oh, but I've just had my new headshots done. You can help me pick the ones you like. And there you were on your knees on the football field in your mink coat, spreading all your headshots and going, now, which one do you think I should? I was saying, oh, I think definitely that one. And I looked up at one point, and all the kids from my class were lined up, staring at what appeared to be two aliens, I think, on our football field. I think that memory is only matched by a time a few years later when you went to England for a while, for a year, and I was in the middle of a French exam at school, and suddenly one of the teachers walked in and whispered to the master who was in charge of the exam, and there was much looking at me with great concern, and the teacher came up and said, Sheldon, there is a phone call for you from England. We'll have to take you out of the exam. It's all right, you can make up this exam afterwards. So I was escorted from the exam, everybody was looking at me, and I was walked through the marble halls of my school to the headmaster's office. The headmaster said, Sheldon, we have a phone call from your mother. We hope it is nothing to be distressing. We'll leave you alone in case it's personal. I said, yes. I thought, what on earth is going on? Have you been injured or in an accident or something? So the door closed and I'm alone in the headmaster's office, and I pick up the phone and I hear the sound of a party going on in the background, and Mum said, oh, darling, there's a bunch of us here. We're wondering who played Vera Charles in the Australian production of Auntie Mame with Shirl Conway. I think the answer was June Klein, but when I left the office, I had to pretend to the headmaster, oh, it's all right. I think she'll pull through. Those were some of the happier memories. But good times and bum times indeed. The lows were lows. I remember that trip to London, you telling me that Christmas dinner that year was a pot of tea and a ham sandwich. And I remember one year on my birthday, I think I was 15, and we had no money at all, and my birthday present was you sitting across the table from me singing I Can't Give You Anything But Love, which I think is probably one of my most treasured presents. And the time we were so broke, we couldn't afford to buy food, and all your good clothes were at the dry cleaners and we couldn't get them out. And I suddenly said, Mum, remember I won a radio competition and the prize was dinner and a show at a theatre restaurant? And the theatre restaurant was about a half-hour walk from our house, and you didn't have anything nice to wear, so I think you put a mink coat on over your petticoat or something, and I wore my school uniform, and we tottered down the street, and we saw a show starring Hazel Phillips called Hot Pants, written by our friend David Mitchell, and we walked in and we ordered everything on the menu. I think I had 2 steaks because we were so hungry, and we saw the show and we were pretending we were two stars out for a night on the town, but in fact it was the only food we could get. And the cast came out and feted us afterwards and bought you a lot of champagne, and that one of them drove us home, and it turned out to be one of the happiest nights that we had. This award is not just for your achievements; it's for your life, and even though it's been a wonderful career, and you have been dealt many blows, and you've always managed to bounce back, and I think that shows even in the titles of your one woman shows, full of life, and woman on the move, and still a gypsy, still full of life. It's a life that has been filled with resilience and curiosity and courage. It's a life that has required 2 autobiographies and a cookbook and an audiobook and a one-woman show just to pass on everything that you have learned. You told me once I was hired to do a series. I was a regular cast member on a series, and I was very excited, and 5 weeks into the filming you were hired to play the character of my mother, and I was very upset because I thought people would think I had gotten the job because of your name. And I remember a very distressed phone call in the middle of the night, and you said to me, "Do you want me to quit the show?" And I said, no, I don't want you to quit the show. You said, "If it'll make you happy, I will." You said, "But I just want to tell you something. When I was a young woman, I was always known as Stella Lamond's daughter." You said, "Now here I am in the middle of my career," she said, "and I'm known as Helen Reddy's sister." And you said, in 20 years' time, I'll probably be known as Toni Sheldon's mother. So just get used to it. Well, I have to say to you, there is only one Toni Lamond. There always was, is, and ever will be. So just get used to it. I love you, and congratulations.